Hello, everybody. We're back for another episode of the Farms Coffee Hour. The more I'm saying that, I'm really kind of enjoying that name.
It's a good name.
And thank you. Um, Today we have a very special guest, her, Tatyana. I think I've known you for probably about 5 or 6 months now.
Yeah, almost a year.
Almost a year, actually.
I think next month would be a year because that's when I started doing stuff with you
Oh,
guys.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's crazy. Tatyana owns a shop here in town on South Locust. What's the address over there?
2316 South Locust Street.
They do tattooing, they do piercings, and it's also a plant store. It feels like the type of store that's just like you're like, I'm just gonna do everything I love and just stick it in a store.
That's exactly what it was.
I love it, dude. Those spaces are cool because it's like, why don't you kind of hit all of that together? Sorry, that was a weird intro. Welcome to the Farms Coffee Hour.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
And you were just involved in a major car accident, like life-changing car accident. How are you doing?
I'm doing good now. Um, it's been very slow and very painful as far as the healing process goes, but I'm just really glad that I really only like aside from bruising around my body, I only broke my ankle and got a major concussion. So considering the car accident, I mean, you've seen pictures of it and there's a couple pictures on my Facebook. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. I mean, I think it's just one of those real eye-opening things that you go through and you're like, "Wow." You
Hmm.
just take a look at your life and figure out, what is it that I'm doing? Like, am I happy? Am I not happy? Do I want to
Hmm.
keep doing stuff? So I think that's been the biggest hurdle through it is just with the car accident came all the mental trauma from it, and then it makes you
Hmm.
question everything.
Hmm.
So aside from the physical, it's been a mental battle. So
Do you remember a moment that you were just like, you're like, this is like my life right now? Like, were you in the hospital or at home or something where you were just like, it kind of really all hit you?
um
Or has it been like all blur?
it was I mean, there's parts that are kind of a blur, but then there's some real clear parts. But I think my moment was when when I had just gotten home. Um, me and my husband live in a small house,
Mhm.
and we moved into it while I was having back surgeries and stuff like that. So it's pretty handicap accessible. Um, but it was when I looked at the stairs to get into my front door, I was like, this is my life right now. This is gonna be interesting.
Uh-huh.
So, but once I got up the stairs and got onto the couch, then I kind of sat down and started decompressing that day. And
Mhm.
it was very like, it was like, man, I'm gonna have to call insurance. I'm gonna have to do this. I'm gonna have to do that. So then everything just started coming through. And then I'm like, man, I'm tired. I need to go to sleep. So
Yeah.
the first about week and a half, 2 weeks, that's really all I did was I slept.
Mhm.
It was hard to stay awake except for at night. The pain was a lot worse. So
Yeah.
my sleep schedule got
Yeah.
really thrown off, but we're getting back to it. So that's okay.
I don't want to say that those moments are like necessary for growth, but looking back in my personal life, probably in the last 4 or 5 years, like after my dad passed away, I don't know why I feel like I had those moments, like kind of
hmm
seeing somebody's life kind of here and gone,
Right.
and freaking lit a fire underneath my ass, man. And I don't know if I would have had that if I didn't
Right.
didn't have that kind of perspective. It sounds kind of cheesy, but I felt that.
It's very true. I mean, I think when you witness it yourself, like in a car accident or any other near death experience, or when you see someone that you're close to,
Mhm.
like you said, they're here 1 minute and then completely gone the next, and you're having
Mhm.
to pick up those pieces. It really makes you rethink your life. It makes you rethink, okay, what plans do I have set in place? Um, to help me or to help my family going through this. And that's one thing. I mean, everyone thinks it's not going to happen to you, but
Mhm.
I mean, I thought the same thing and then I hit
Yeah.
a tree. So
Yeah.
it just it's always important. I mean, I always tell people, I've had people ask me in the um, past month, like, well, what do you do now?
Mhm.
And it's like you heal, you pick up the pieces, you move forward very slowly in my case, but you just keep going and you kind of use that time to figure out, am I doing enough? Like, am I really happy? Am I doing enough
Mhm.
for the community? Am I doing enough for my clients? Am I doing
Mhm.
enough for my family?
Yeah.
So I took a lot of this time that I've been off. I mean, now I'm back in the store by
Mhm.
appointment only, but I'm still limited to only actually doing anything for about 2 hours a day right now. So it gives me a lot of time outside of the store to really continue evaluating, putting new things in place, which I have a lot of new things that'll be coming up in the next couple of months that I'm excited about. And I mean, you
Yeah.
gotta keep going.
You do have a lot of time to think about what
Oh
you wanna
yeah.
do. Um, but, props to you for utilizing that time, obviously, because you easily could "I'm done. Cut me out of the show," kinda,
Hey,
you
I
know?
mean, I'm not gonna lie, there were a couple moments like that, and thankfully, I have a really great support system between, um, some really close family, friends, and just some family, and, I mean, my husband especially was like, "Knock it off,
Yeah.
like, guilt trip for a little bit here, but
Mhm.
then you need to really step it up because you built all of this yourself. Like,
Mhm.
are you really gonna let a tree, like,
Right.
bring you down?"
Mhm.
And so that was a huge, like, yeah, you're right. This is gonna be hard, but been through harder things
Mhm.
before. And for Christmas, actually, I got a little tree keychain.
Yeah.
So that's the running joke. Everyone says whenever you're upset, look at your tree
Uh-huh.
and determine if you're gonna let that little tree ruin the rest of your life or make you
Uh-huh.
unhappy. So put a little light on it.
Well, I'm glad you're still here because, y like, just the beginning of this year, I swear I've spoken to at least 3 people that have had family members that have died in a car accident.
Mhm.
One of those including Alyssa's cousin. The kid was 17 years old and car accident and flipped and just, yeah, did not make it out of there. And those things are just like absolutely heartbreaking, of course. And you say that, but I don't have any kids, so I can't imagine how that feels. Like people talk about like even when your parents kind of pass away, they've had a long, fulfilling life and
Mhm.
um it's sad, but man, I can't imagine the kind of what it would be to lose a kid. So
Oh yeah.
for your mom and everybody in your family, I'm glad you're still alive. And as far as like having that support system, I think that comes back to you as well because you only have a support system because you've supported other people.
Yeah.
And it goes for full circle. Like you've given out that energy and now it's your time to kind of take that back, and
Oh
kind
yeah.
of work on yourself. So um good for you for having that.
Thanks. I'm very
Um
lucky.
yeah.
So,
Well, let's talk about this business you have. Cool shop. How did this idea of of opening the shop kind of came about? Were you like out drinking one day and you're like, let's just do it, or like have you been thinking about it for a while, or
well, when I got into the industry, I mean, I think most people when they're getting into the industry, their main goal eventually is to open their own business.
and when you're talking about the industry, you're talking about doing
Doing the
tattoo.
tattoos and
Okay,
the
yeah.
piercings, yes.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I mean, I knew that eventually that was the goal, That was like in the 5, maybe 10-year goal
Hmm.
frame. Um, but I, like, was talking to my husband, I was talking to my mom, and my grandma, because my mom and my grandma own businesses here in Grand Island, and I'm a very organized and I'm a major planner, so even if it's something that is gonna be in 5 years, I wanna use that time to, like, make sure I have all my stuff in line so that it's not this huge
Hmm.
project that I'm trying to come up with last minute. So I kind of started dabbling around a little bit on like what it would even take to open a shop and just regulations and how attainable that would be in general. Um my apprenticeship wasn't the greatest. I learned a lot of things in there and I worked a lot of hours, but it wasn't a good environment for me. So I pulled myself out of that environment, and then I really was in the spot where I was like, I'm just going to stay out of the industry. I'm not going to do it. Like that was just the mental space that I was in at the time. I went
Mhm,
back into retail. I started selling monuments for a local company here. Um and then my mom and my husband were really the ones that were like, "You are too talented. You have spent hours upon hours." Like, that was my life during my apprenticeship. Like, I would work 80 to 100 hours a week.
mhm,
And even after I left the shop, I would come
mhm,
home and I'd work on fake skins. I'd do online seminars, online classes, whatever I could do. I just was completely and totally immersed in that, work 7 days a week.
mhm,
It really was my life. It's something that I am very passionate about. So, then it was, okay, why don't I just find a room that I can rent and then I can just go in and tattoo people or pierce people like on my off time from my full-time job.
mhm.
And so I did that, and by after the first month of me doing that, I was working two full-time jobs again, and that
Yeah.
wasn't something that I really wanted to do per se. Um, I wanted to really devote some time to my family and to my husband. We've always like worked long hour jobs and didn't really get to spend a whole lot of time together. So we went away for our honeymoon, and when we were in Jamaica sitting on the beach, we were talking to some of the workers there, and they were telling us stories about, how much they wish that they had a place like that they could go and get tattoos or piercings done that was they felt safe walking into. And then I looked at my husband and I was like, okay, well, maybe when I get back, I'm going to start working more there, cut back on the regular
Mhm,
job. And then it just so happened that the space that I'm in now happened to open up um, from a landlord that my mom used to rent from. And she
mhm.
had texted me about it. We went and looked at it and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is like perfect,"
Uh-huh.
and stuff, but there was like a lot of renovating that needed to be done. So then I participated in Big Idea Grand Island.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Um and made it to the top 5 there, but was still going to go on. I got a couple of different grants that allowed me to move out of my room and then move into the store.
Mhm,
And then when I was going through all the planning and whatnot for it, I got a lot of advice from other women that I know, because the biggest thing, like when I was 18 and I started getting tattoos, it was really hard for me to find a shop that I felt comfortable in as a woman,
mhm.
that was clean and just a good environment. So that was something that I really wanted to provide. I wanted to provide a safe space for anyone, even if you're not going to get a tattoo or a piercing,
Mhm.
just a safe place in general. I wanted to do different things with artists and small businesses. So trying to find a way to mash all that together was fun.
Yeah.
Um, but plants are my tranquility, and I love plants, so that's kinda where the plants came in, is that I was like, "If I'm gonna use them for decoration, I like to switch my plants out
Yeah.
all the time." So I was like, "I can have these for a season, sell them, and then bring in new ones, and
Yeah.
then keep it fresh and keep it
Yeah.
rotated." So that's where that came into. So
I'm just laughing at that because it's like the same strategy my wife does. She's like, it's like if you can combine business and your passion, it's like I get to buy new plants all the time and like
yes.
find.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
I like to make trips with my mom. We were going up, to different cities to go through all the plant nurseries and stuff, so we would
Mhm.
make it like a mother-daughter day
Yeah.
and stuff, so it was nice being able to combine different things and still do the same
Yeah.
thing for business.
Um w- I was talking to Alyssa about like your shop, and we were talking about, well, I guess like I had this question. I was like how do plants make you feel? And it's I don't think a question that I would have probably asked anybody prior to meeting Alyssa, but because my wife is so into that as well. But like Do you find that plant has like a really special like kind of like how does it make you feel exactly if you can try to describe it?
Yeah, it for me, it just makes me feel in touch with nature. Like nature is my thing. I always was outside as a kid.
Mhm,
So for me, it always like brightens up a room having a little bit of nature in there with you.
mhm.
I feel like a lot of peace, especially on stressful days. I can just go sit out with the plants and hang out with them or
Yeah,
repot the plants. I don't know. It's just something about them. I mean, it's hard to explain. I mean, sometimes I
yeah,
get frustrated at the plants
yeah.
because
Don't
sometimes it's
die.
hard. Yes, sitting there begging them not to die. But um I don't know. It just for me, they're just like my zen, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. And I can draw a lot of inspiration from different plants because I mean, there's so many different kinds of plants.
Mhm.
So many. So many.
I don't know much about plants, but when I was thinking about this question to ask you, I was actually thinking about my family too, because my dad he loved gardening on
Yeah.
the later years, and even my mom, she loves it. And I'm not quite there yet, but there is something to it that I think it's slowly growing on me too. Yeah, plants just look like plants, but they're kind of like they have a lot of character, a lot of personalities. You kind of have to treat them all a little differently. I'm kind of
Mhm.
learning about you have to water some of them differently. Like Alyssa does this thing where she puts like a pot over a cup and then like it sucks it up from the bottom. I'm
Yep.
like, I didn't even know you can do that.
Oh yeah.
Um,
There's all kinds of things that you can do
uh-huh.
with them.
And even here in the boba shop, at the new one here, we were trying to decorate the place and we were putting up stuff and I was like, it just didn't feel right. It didn't look right. It didn't have that
Mhm.
kind of vibe. So then we went out and we were pretty stretching our decoration budget at the end, but we're like, I think we need to make some budget for plants and we added like 4 or 5 plants in here and the space just looked freaking bomb, dude.
And it does. They look gorgeous out there. I noticed them as soon as I came in. That's like one of the first things that I notice is if people have
Yeah.
plants.
Yeah.
But
And it's so fun because you meet somebody that like is into plants and it's just like a immediate like you can be strangers and next thing you know you're just like chit chatting over plants. Like for me, it's about food. I can probably meet somebody and we'll like end up just talking about food.
hey, I'm a foodie too. So plants, food, you got me there.
That's so cool, man. Um, yeah, I think I'd like to get back to doing tattoos. This is something I'm kind of interested about. Um, I've always wanted to do or to get a tat, but I'm a weenie, obviously, and I've never done that. But like, how does somebody get into doing tattoos? Like you mentioned, you started with an apprenticeship, right?
Yeah.
And like, is that required or?
No, an apprenticeship is not required. Specifically in the state of Nebraska, um, really the only requisites that you have to have for the state of Nebraska is you have to have your CPR certification, your basic first aid through the Red Cross. You have to have that done, and then a high school diploma in bloodborne pathogens training. That's all you need to get
Uh-huh.
your license in the state of Nebraska. Which I mean, made it easy for me to get it, but a lot of other states, if you look around, they have more intricate um
Requirements?
requirements. Yeah, where an apprenticeship would be required. Um, when I got into tattooing, it was kind of a mix of a couple of different things. I was in a shop and I was working all the time. Um, but I was learning from the other artists that were in that shop. And like I said before, it wasn't a great experience
Mhm.
for me. I didn't learn a whole lot as far as tattooing goes.
Mhm.
It was more so I was pushed to the counter to help customers, responding
Yeah.
to Facebook messages, making social media. It
Yeah.
was more of like a shop manager position that they had
Uh-huh.
pushed me off into because they were, from what I've talked to them since I've gone out on my own,
Mhm.
and it was the fear of competition.
Yeah.
And the industry is notorious for gatekeeping,
Yeah.
which we're starting to see a change in that.
Yeah.
Um, During COVID, it forced a lot of shops to close.
Yeah.
Um, And so what that did was open it up to more people so that everything was online.
Mhm.
So when I was going through my apprenticeship, I wasn't learning anything. So that's when I also kind of went out on my own a little bit
Yeah.
while working there, and I enrolled into a class, and it was an online class called Tattooing 101. Joined their community on Facebook and stuff, did weekly calls with them,
Mhm.
did private training. I mean, it was all through video chat, and a lot of it was working on the stuff outside
Mhm.
of the store and working on it at home. But I mean, it was great information. I mean, I learned more in that course in 2 months than I did in the
Yeah.
time that I was there, and I just kept practicing and practicing and practicing,
Mhm.
joining more, courses and seminars are a big thing, going to tattoo conventions so you can learn from other artists there and just watching them tattoo. There's so many different ways now to learn
Mhm.
than just the traditional, "Oh, you have to get an apprenticeship, you have to go through all of these hard steps
Mhm.
just to barely make it," and while you're going through it, you're not making any money.
Yeah.
So,
Dude, I feel like in the last maybe 5 or 6 years, self-education and, like, on the online space has just been millions, million times better for anybody
oh,
that's
yeah.
interested in learning anything.
It really has been, I mean, with tattooing, it's kind of a double-edged sword because it is amazing that there's all this content out there.
Mhm.
Even now, that's still, if I want to learn a new style, I'll look for closed seminars. If I can't find one,
Uh-huh.
then I'll just start looking at different accredited courses that I can take, and I'll do the courses, and then I can do those on my own time too.
Yeah.
But at the same time, tattooing and piercing, it's not an easy industry to be in.
Mhm.
You're working with bloodborne pathogens.
Mhm.
Um, one of the sayings that we use in the industry is you treat everyone like they have AIDS because you never know. Someone might have a disease and you poke yourself,
Yeah.
or you're not taking care of things, or you're not cleaning up properly. You could give that to someone else, or
Yeah.
you could give that to yourself.
Mhm.
Um, and it's not hard to seriously mess someone up when you're
Yeah.
tattooing them. Even easier if you're piercing someone.
Uh-huh.
And those can have long-term effects. You could give someone staph infection. You could, um, for piercing, you could hit someone's nerve.
Yeah.
There's just so many different things that can go wrong. So being in the point where you're always learning,
Mhm.
is a huge thing. So,
Dude, I'm so glad you have a big emphasis on that. Yeah, because I guess I don't know. I just never thought about, yeah, those are serious consequences that.
oh yeah. I mean, I've seen some really horrible things come in to the store. I've seen horrible things posted on Facebook. Um people have died from getting tattoos in someone's basement or in someone's garage. Buying a machine off of Amazon isn't going to be sufficient to what you need. And most actual tattoo and piercing suppliers won't sell to you unless you are a licensed artist and
Uh-huh.
you're in a licensed shop.
Yeah.
A lot of so if you're able to get those type of supplies without those verifications, that should be kind of a red flag.
Uh-huh.
It's not something that you just do for fun to make a quick buck because at the end of the day, if you seriously hurt someone, they can
Mhm.
come back after you for everything. Their family could come after you
Yeah.
for everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just not a risk that you should want to take.
Yeah. It's just bad for everybody all the way around.
Oh yeah.
Um, let's talk about kind of your tattooing styles. Actually, how would you describe it?
Mine are honestly kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
The shop that I was at, I had to learn everything.
Yeah.
Um, so I find joy in a lot of different styles. The main style that I like is gonna be doing like floral black and gray realism with watercolor behind it,
Uh-huh.
or doing anything where it's like a black and gray is your forefront subject and then the background is watercolor splashes. I
Okay.
like the hint of the like you have your black and gray, but then you also have this nice vivid color also. It makes everything pop and it's also very cohesive.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of my favorite style, but I do a lot of fine line. and floral. That's huge in the industry right now, but
Dude,
it's definitely a lot of fun.
I was scrolling your Instagram and I some of those really caught my eyes. They just look super clean. Um, and it's probably doesn't take us long as well either, right? Like you can kind of knock those out a little.
Like the little fine line
Yeah,
ones.
the fine line ones.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on what it is. Some of the fine line things can take anywhere from 10 minutes. Some of them are more intricate and they do take
Uh-huh.
longer.
Yeah.
And the most important thing with fine line is that most of the time they are just lines. So
Yeah.
you have to get your lines pretty perfect and take your time doing them
Yeah.
because you don't have shading that you can go over and like kind of
Uh-huh.
buff out the line if you were a little wiggly.
Uh-huh.
Um so you really have to be on point with those. Which kinda they're nerve-wracking at times, but, you know,
Yeah, I think on that note, how does it feel to know that customers entrust you with like doing their tattoos? Like that's such a permanent thing.
um, it's still mind-blowing, honestly. I mean, I'm grateful for all of my clients, I'm grateful for everyone that comes in the door, um, even if they don't end up booking a tattoo or a piercing with me, I mean, I'm just thankful that they're giving me the opportunity.
Mhm.
And because it is, someone is entrusting you with not only their art that expresses them and who they are and maybe the story they want to tell with that piece.
Mhm.
But they're also entrusting you with their safety. So
Yeah.
that's something that doesn't come lightly. And I like to be a really easygoing person, but when it comes to safety, that's always at the forefront of my mind.
Mhm.
Um and making sure everything is clean, but also like and that's why I think I get a lot of respect from clients. Some of my reviews, like that's the first people say is that wow, your shop is so clean. It smells good in here. I mean, it's the little things that matter. So,
Yeah. Totally. I get it. Are there any like special tattoos that really stand out to you in your time of working on them?
yeah, I have a couple of different tattoos. I have I have a lot of memorial pieces that I've done
Yeah.
for people, and I think those always kinda pull at your heartstring. They say getting a tattoo is like ink therapy, and it's so true. I hear so many stories from people and just talking to people about why they're getting a tattoo,
Mhm.
and whatnot. I did one this last year, for someone whose child passed away of
Mhm.
suicide. So that was a really I don't know, it was a really surreal moment being able to combine the different things that their child liked
Mhm.
into a tattoo, and I was very nervous about it. I mean, memorial tattoos are a big deal.
Yeah.
So, I think I brought 5 or 6 different versions of this tattoo to my
Yeah.
client, and I was
Uh-huh.
like, "Okay, here you go. Look at them. Pick." She picked the first one,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Okay, are you sure? Are you sure?" We did it redid the placement a couple times. I'm like, "Are you sure this is where you want it? Are you sure everything's good?" We ended up doing it over about 3 or 4 different sessions, and during those sessions, like, hearing the stories of her child and whatnot
Uh-huh.
was really heartwarming, and I'm a huge advocate for mental health as
Mhm.
well, so just seeing the after effects of it, I mean, it really makes you
Yeah.
stand out. A funny one that I've done, was actually on someone's butt, and it was a man's, and it came out of a conversation that, friends were having while someone else was getting a tattoo, so this conversation unloaded, and then it turned into a funny tattoo on a guy's butt, so I
Yeah.
just finished that one, and it was nice and colorful. It has to do with SpongeBob,
Uh-huh.
and I you know, I showed some of my close friends and family members that tattoo, and they were like, "It's such a masterpiece. It's so sad you can't actually post it." And I'm like, "I know, but it's just for the joke, it was great,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?"
Uh-huh.
So, so
That's the other side of tattoos, huh? It's
mhm.
like just being really spontaneous and just
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. And especially on flash day sales, I mean, people just come in because they want a tattoo and they see they're $31 and they're like, "You know what? Never thought I would get a watermelon or a or anything," like,
Yeah.
I think for Halloween, I had a bunch of different flash sheets of horror movie characters.
Uh-huh.
So I had someone come in and they chose one of them, and it was Michael Myers, and they were like, "I never thought in a million years I would get Michael Myers tattooed on me, but here we
Here
are."
I am.
And so just different things like that. I mean, it makes it great, and then you see those clients constantly coming back. So
Uh-huh.
just makes it very rewarding.
Dude, that's so cool. Do you have any tattoos that you have a bad tattoo that you're like, oh man, I wish I didn't get that one.
I do. Yeah. I definitely had one when I was 18, and I had to have my tattoo artist fix it. And so thankfully she's amazing. So she fixed it up for me.
Yeah.
And then um I have a couple on my left arm
Uh-huh.
that were during the COVID stages, and they were horrible. There's like 5 of them.
Yeah.
And
There's
so they were littler things, and
yeah.
so I actually covered them up on my arm
Uh-huh.
with a sleeve that I'm working on my left arm. And if you look at it just right, you can still kind of see them. But I'm
Yeah.
like, they're gone. We don't know what you're talking about. So, and then I still have one on my ankle that I did. It was just a stick and poke when I first started tattooing
Yeah.
and learning a different style. And I'm like, yeah, I should probably fix that one day. But
Do you have people that you're like, I don't probably recommend you do this one? Does that happen often actually, or are you just like, all right, that's what you want?
um,
Is there like a something that's like industry standard that's like you're supposed to kind of talk someone out of it?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
they're like names of significant others,
Names.
especially. Um, and I'll give people a warning, or if people are saying that they want a certain tattoo in a certain area, I'll give them a warning. But at the end
Mhm.
of the day, the way that I see it is that it's not my body. It's
Yeah.
not my choice.
Yeah.
They're coming to me because they already know that they want this, and they want to make sure that it's done correctly.
Uh-huh.
So that's why they're here.
Sure.
It's not my job to talk someone out
Uh-huh.
of getting anything. It's not my choice. Like, you
I'll be here to cover it up for you if you change your
and you know what?
mind.
I've told a couple people that before. And you kind of make light out of it
Uh-huh.
and hope that, they're not going to have to get it covered up one day. But I have had work come back that I have had to turn
Uh-huh.
around and cover up because something didn't work out, or the placement, they were like, "Yeah, I should have listened to you. This was not great."
Yeah.
Um, but at the end of the day, it's your body, it's your choice. I'm here
Uh-huh.
to make sure that it gets done correctly and that you like it when it's done. It's not my job to lecture you or
Right.
shame you
Right, right.
on what you want to get.
Sure, that makes sense. Do you, boo?
Mhm, exactly.
Um, as far as running your business, man, Alyssa and I run our shop together, but you like run your business by yourself. I know you get a lot of support from your family, but for something that's like you're doing yourself, has there been something that's like been really surprising to you that about running your own shop and business that you're just like, oh my goodness, I wasn't ready for that?
Um,
Or is it everything is like that?
some days it feels like everything is like that. Running a business is not easy. Um, I think the first thing that stood out to me was taxes. Um, that was a very complicated thing. So the first thing I did was I hired an amazing accountant, and they've been absolutely wonderful. They literally handle everything for me. I only have to send them one email a month and I'm good.
Yeah.
So that took a lot of stress off of me. And if I ever have questions, I can just reach out to them. But I think the biggest challenge was like inventory and making sure that with regulations, so the state has their set of regulations, but then in Grand Island, the Central District Health Department, they have their own set of standards as well.
Yeah.
So making sure I'm constantly meeting both of those um is a big one. I mean,
Yeah.
down the like as you get further into it, I mean, it's second nature to you. I mean, a lot of it is common sense,
Mhm.
but there's always there's always changes, so just making sure that you're staying on top of whatever regulation changes they put out is a big one. Um, Surprise inspections, I think those are the things that are the most stressful because they really do come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And even though you know you're doing everything right, you see someone or someone's walking around your shop looking at everything
Yeah.
under a fine tooth comb, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, did I
Yeah.
remember to check that all the needles were in the right
Uh-huh.
space? Did I remember to close all the ink?" You know, it's just
Uh-huh.
all those different things.
Are they usually pretty good to you
Oh
about that
yeah,
kind of stuff? Yeah.
they're super nice.
Yeah.
I haven't had a single inspection where I had an issue. You learn that certain inspectors like things certain ways. So
Mhm.
when I see them coming through the door, as far as like the filing goes, um, like we have sanitizing equipment and it's called an autoclave and they give you receipts
Mhm.
every time you autoclave something.
Yeah.
So certain inspectors like those autoclave records a certain way. So
Uh-huh.
I just do them both ways to
Yeah.
be on the safe side. Some people like them digital, some people want the whole stack in their
Yeah.
hand to flip through them all. So
Well, props to you for running the business because yeah, we got that sense when we came into your shop. Everything is very nice and clean and proper, and you kill it on social. That's like a whole full-time job by itself. Staying on top of that, staying with your customers. And then the other thing that we noticed that you do too is you have a big community aspect to your business. Like I feel like you're always doing some kind of events or pop-ups. Are there anything that you want to kind of repeat in 25 for those events?
yeah, so the pop-ups were a huge thing. Like I was kind of talking to you about before, you know, I was born and raised here in Grand Island. My grandparents, my uncle own a flower shop here, and my mom owns a photography business. So I grew up seeing how small business owners work and how much like a business means to them, and supporting their community and their community supporting them back. And that's been the biggest thing in my mind opening up a business is that I wanted to keep bringing something back to my community. If I'm going to be in the community and people from the community are going to be supporting me, how can I support them? And one of the ways that I've found that is a lot of fun is doing the pop-up shops in front of my store. And I did a bunch of them this summer and I had different businesses and we all
Mhm.
got to talk and we had a lot of different people come through. So I mean that was a lot of fun. A lot of those vendor events, my friend and I have actually opened a sub business of my store, and
Oh,
so we're going to be doing a lot of that stuff still. It's just going to be under Dream Team vendor events
uh-huh.
versus under Enchant Inc.
Sure.
But we're still gonna be doing a lot of things on that front. I think right now for 2025, we have 10 different vendor events
No
planned.
way. Cool.
Yes. In 2026, we'll have probably another 5 in there.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, we're constantly building that. But as a small business owner, I think it's important to be able to connect with other business owners in your community and also connect with your community. I mean, I have a
Mhm.
goal of doing at least 7 different fundraisers this year for local charities, whether it's the Humane Society, Hope Harbor, just what it is. We did 3 last year and they were all very successful. And so that was great.
Yeah.
And then I've done a lot of donations for like raffles, for Crime Stoppers, for their pancake feed. Um, I have another one coming up for like Willow Rising. I did some closed donations for like family members that lost someone unexpectedly. So they were trying to raise money for a funeral.
Mhm.
So just continuing those things is going to be really important. I do have open art nights that are going to be coming up here in the next couple months. So just have a workshop room and people can just come in and we can all just sit around, listen to music and do art, whether it's digital painting or drawing. Um, just setting an hour aside to do those things. And then the plant potting workshops will be coming back
Oh,
come
that was fun.
spring. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Here, I have a voice thing here. Um, I love it. I love these community events. I love your ideas behind them. Um, because you meet the coolest people at these events. Uh, you meet some businesses that you had no idea operated around Grand Island and surrounding areas, and it's fun to meet like-minded people and connect. And yeah, it's just local businesses have to stick together, man, because
Oh, yeah.
that's the way for us, all of us, to grow. We support each other, and um, I feel like often we have the same customers too. Like certain customers really just like shopping local and
Oh, yeah.
contributing to that. So it's really fun to be able to mingle and do that all under the same roof under these events. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it is a lot of fun, and that's, like, one of my favorite things to do. I have little card stands sitting in my store, and I like getting cards from local businesses, especially
mhm,
business owners that I know,
yeah,
and putting cards up there so that if people ask me, "Oh, well, we're looking for this, like, where would you recommend going?" If they're looking for boba, I can send them your way,
yeah,
and I think that that's really vital. I mean, I'm a part of a couple different, um, business groups here in Grand Island, and I mean, I've learned so much from them, even though we're all in different industries.
yeah,
I've learned so much from them, and just being able to create those connections, and the referrals are just, I feel like they're really important for everyone to stay in business, especially now. Like the economy is just kind of everywhere, and you never know what tomorrow's going to bring.
mhm,
So might as well support
yeah,
your friends, you know?
yeah. That's what yeah, that's what it's all about, man. We're just like friends, like doing different stuff, and it's different things that our community needs.
Oh yeah.
So why not support each other? Um, is there anything that you think our listeners can help you with if we can do something?
I mean, if you need a tattoo or a plant, come see me.
Stop on by.
Yeah. Or if you just want someone to talk to, I'm always there. I mean, right now it's a little hit and miss, but once I get out of my boot and I can be back there full time, I pretty much live at the store. Um, but aside from that, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just continue to shop local. I think in the last 2 years, there's been so many small businesses that have closed down here.
Uh-huh.
And it's been really sad to see. I mean, there's been a lot of new ones pop up, don't
Right.
get me wrong, but I think it would be just continue to support local so that all of us little community people can keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
Well, is there anything else you want to add to the podcast?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll figure out something in the future.
All right,
That's
everybody.
okay.
I think we're gonna close off the podcast here. Thank you so much, Tatyana, for stopping by. We appreciate it. We love seeing you grow, and we'll continue to kind of stay in touch, and we'll see what 2025 brings for you.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I appreciate you having me, and I can't wait to see how much you guys grow too in the next year, especially you guys have some big things coming up too.
Yeah, we do. Stay tuned for that. Bye, guys.
Bye.